the background story of Harold in Italy is fascinating. He wrote the piece at the request of Niccolò Paganini, who was the greatest violin virtuoso of his time. Inhuman capability, nothing compared to Paganini at the time. Paganini acquired a Stradivarius viola and asked Berlioz if he would write him a piece with orchestra. And so this is what spawned the creation of the piece. Much to Paganini's disappointment, the piece was not full of athletic acrobatics for the violinist. It was not considered by Paganini to be a great virtuoso piece that really featured him and put him in the spotlight. In fact, in the piece, there's large portions of the piece that work like a symphony rather than a showpiece for the solo viola. And Paganini took this as an insult, that he would just be standing around not being the main event while the piece was being played. And so he actually refused to play the piece. And what's so endearing about this story is Paganini eventually did hear the piece performed later in his life when his health was ailing considerably, and was so moved by the performance that he made a very public ceremony to honor Berlioz, not just with a bow and a kiss on the hand, but a large sum of money to basically say, I'm sorry, and what was I thinking? I really should have taken this piece as my own. There are large extended symphonic sections where the viola is not playing, and there are some moments where the viola is featured sort of as accompanying a melody in the orchestra, which is a very interesting way to use a solo instrument. And then there are other portions of the piece where the viola is very much up front and the main event. Berlioz's writing in this piece really evokes a great deal of musical imagery. So you do feel like you're traveling through time or through a country with the composer. But he based the construction of the story of this piece on a poem that was very popular in its day by Lord Byron called The Childe Harold. And so the story is told through the piece. There's an arpeggiation in the second movement where the viola is just basically playing arpeggiated chords over and over and over throughout the piece. And it's basically a way of depicting Berlioz strumming his guitar as he walked throughout the Tuscan hillsides. So what I'm thinking of when I play this piece is just the absolutely gorgeous, warm, chocolate voice that is the viola. In many ways, I believe that this particular piece is maybe the best piece for viola and orchestra because it's just so smart. It's written right in the money range on the instrument, which is the mid-range where you really get a sense of the voice of the viola. It's dark, it's beautiful, it's singing, it's melodious, and all of these things are qualities I associate when I hear viola. So almost a responsibility when you play this piece. It is a responsibility to project the most confident, warm, inviting, velvet sound you can provide. I grew up listening to great recordings of William Primrose playing this piece, who's a viola icon for the ages. Actually, one of Michael Novak's teachers was William Primrose. Michael Novak is a violist and, of course, our music director and a good friend of mine, and he studied with William Primrose. And so I grew up listening to these recordings and realizing the responsibility of sound and what it can be. So I often think about, you know, when I put the bow on the string for the very first note of the piece, I just want there to be a huge smile that sweeps across every face in the auditorium. And so there's a lot of that quality in this piece, just warm, infectious, loving sound. And so for that reason, you know, you have to engender to be that character. Whoever Harold is, you have to become Harold in that moment. And I do that with sound and, you know, richness of tone. I think people should come to this concert because, first of all, to hear a solo viola with orchestra is rare. You hear piano concertos regularly, cello concertos, violin concerti all the time. Viola concerto is not something that we get to talk about a lot. And this particular piece means a lot to me. First of all, it's a wonderful piece. And I think this program will surprise a lot of people because there are some incredible pieces of music on this program that a lot of people don't know enough about because they don't get performed that often. But all of the pieces on the program are unsung heroes of the repertoire, and particularly, I feel, Harold in Italy. But a little backstory on that. Last season was Michael Novak's 30th anniversary with the San Luis Obispo Symphony, and as a gift, the orchestra purchased a copy of the score for Harold in Italy, and they gave it to Mike as a goodwill gesture of thank you. And about a week later, after admiring this beautiful score that was given to him, he called me up and said, "Hey, how would you like to come on in and play this piece? We can use this music. It'll be a wonderful experience for everybody." And that's how it came about. And nothing could please me more than to be here playing this particular piece with these people. It's a wonderful privilege, and to share the majesty of the viola is an opportunity I couldn't bear to pass up. So.